Okay, here we are. It reminds me.
What's that?
The recording. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And
Never used to do that, did it?
no, there are a lot of things that have changed. In fact, another thing has changed. Let me just see under, you get your view at the top there. If they've got something new now that you can look at, okay, so you get like these sort of views. Has it changed on yours?
No.
Oh, okay. So under the top, I've got. I wonder why it hasn't come through to you. If I do it that way, does it come through?
No.
Still just the same pictures. I wonder
Yep.
why that. Okay, when you've got a view on the top right-hand corner of your screen, if you
View, yeah.
click on that and see if you've got something there that says immersive view.
No, all I've got is speaker view or gallery view.
Oh, but now I wonder why it allows me, because it's something new that's come up, and it allows me to use it. I can see, the whole lot of different. Let me just change and do a different shape and see if that makes any difference at all. It's just the way. Again, it doesn't do anything to you, eh?
No. Oh, you just lost your background, that's all.
Yeah.
You've just got a white background.
Okay. All right. So, well, I don't know what the purpose is. Maybe it's just for the person who initiates the meeting can place everybody in different pictures. Like now, I've got everybody, including you, in a view in a like a varsity seating, a lecturer seating.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and everybody would be sitting in a seat. But anyway,
That's interesting.
yeah, it is. So I think what I've learned there is that it's just strange. I thought everybody would have had that view. Anyway, they don't. Maybe I can Google it. That's just.
So are you well?
Yes, I am, but there's a big but, and that is just totally. And my wife as well, and I just totally lack energy, and have no idea. We just. Yeah, I mean, it started off when we went to a beach on, it was Saturday morning. Yeah, yesterday morning. We went and walked on the beach, and then we went to a coffee shop and we had breakfast. And we both came back and we were sick as dogs. Obviously something was off, probably the mushrooms that was on the plate. I don't know, that could have been off. And then we just basically hadn't recovered. Okay, still feeling, both of us, totally like head a bit thick and tired. But anyway, I had a sleep an hour or so ago, and I thought maybe that would help. But eyes also, the deep inside the eyes, very sore, behind the eyes,
Gee, that's unusual.
Yeah, it's all unusual, in fact, very all unusual. But anyway, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad. It's been a crazy couple of weeks in a lot of ways. Lot going on. Well, yeah, from a health side of it, that bloody COVID's running rampant at the moment. So there's lots of people at work have been off with it, and interestingly, have had really quite severe reactions to it. Being off work for like 10, 12 days. So and like the people who've had it, reporting that they get like intense migraine style headaches and uncontrolled coughing and vomiting and all sorts of stuff.
And is that people who have been vaccinated or have not been vaccinated?
who have been vaccinated. Yeah.
Is that
Mm,
so?
mm,
Okay.
mm.
As a
Yes.
general rule, a general comment. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's 4 or 5, I think, have contracted it, and I don't think they're getting it in the workplace. I think they're getting it elsewhere, and yeah, they just said, "Oh, it's horrible. It's like being hit by a bus."
Goodness
So
me. Yeah.
and in the local community here, it's just rampant. Like one of the nursing homes not far from here, they've got 24 staff have contracted it. So that's having a big impact on just running the facility. And the facility that my mother's in, it was put into lockdown at 2 o'clock this afternoon. So
Goodness. Okay.
it's just
And
everywhere. But it, it's just in many respects, it reminds me of like when you have a serious outbreak of like influenza or gastro or something like that. It just seems to run rampant. So,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
mm,
No, we're not, as you know, we're not experiencing it, sure, but they still got hectic. They putting us into really difficult positions. Okay, by saying that we can't go to coffee shops, restaurants, bottle stores, and unless we had double vaccination,
mm.
can't go in. Okay, um, and so it's and they say that that's going to be extended to retail shops. So that all comes into effect at the end of January.
The
And then
retail stores, goodness
yeah,
gracious.
so
How are you supposed to? How are you supposed to eat?
well, exactly. We fortunately we get ours online. Okay,
Mm,
and it's just saying, the premier just says blatantly on television, just says, if you want to get to these places, you want to have a normal life, get double vaccinated. That's it.
mm,
Okay.
mm.
You won't be able to get into the airport unless you're double vaccinated. Um, and, in March, April comes we have to renew our visa. And we're waiting for the letter that tells us that, we can't apply unless we've been double vaccinated.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and so, yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a mountain of evidence on this side of the country that the vaccination doesn't prevent you from getting it. That's for sure.
No, that's well. What they've said that all along. Actually, it's been public, that thing. So it doesn't prevent you from getting it. Doesn't prevent you from spreading it, but it's supposed to, when you get it, not be as severe.
That's what they're saying. But I mean, as I said, just anecdotally, the people I've spoken to, they've had
Yeah,
quite severe reactions. And I said to the guy who literally just returned to work on Friday, I said to him, "So what are the doctors telling you?"
yeah.
He said, "Oh, well," he said, "I was a bit surprised." He says, "The doctor said I should be fine for another month." He says, "But after a month, I should be able to contract it again." So I thought, "Oh, well, all this talk about herd immunity, then where's that coming from?"
Yeah, 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 absolutely.
So many contradictions. So
Yeah, yeah. And I would imagine, the nursing home, like when your mother's in there, those nurses, all they were compulsory. They had to be vaccinated, weren't they?
yeah, compulsory. In fact, they've had to have uh, from the 1st of January, I think it was. They had to have the booster shot as well. So they had to have 3 injections.
And 20 of them are gone off.
Mm, yep. Mm.
It's so difficult to confront this blackmail. That's really, I don't know.
Well, it's sort of worse than blackmail, isn't it? It's just a
It's,
gun pointed at your head, really. So,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
mm. But anyway, so it's a strange old world at the moment, and I don't
Yeah,
know about you, but my sense of it is that because there's so much illness around, irrespective of what the illness is, but like the impact on supply chains and the availability of product and stuff like that seems I don't think that's going to disappear in a hurry. I think that's going to be with us for a while, I think, so.
Yeah, Sue and I experienced an interesting phenomena yesterday. On the news and everywhere, it was showing WA, Woolworths, and Coles as their shelves just been empty. Okay,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
over the place. And then you're only allowed to take one packet of toilet paper and stuff like that. Okay, and one of this and one of that. And then yesterday, we went into IGA in Hammond Park, and
Yeah.
everything was in abundance. I mean,
Yeah.
absolutely. You can have what you like. You could take what you like. Okay. And I thought, now, I don't understand. There's something that doesn't, surely their suppliers are the same suppliers or the same chain of suppliers. I don't know. I know they do have, quite a lot of different stock. They have a lot more, I think, sort of Australian stuff, whereas maybe Woolworths and Coles bring a lot in from elsewhere. But I don't know if that's the talking point. Is that the problem? I have no idea. But well, we just remember that because maybe because it's quite close to us.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not the closest, but it's the second closest IGA. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it's certainly not that it's an issue for you or I, but it certainly encourages people to think about trying to simplify their living, doesn't it? So
Yeah. And, we've also found ourselves just eating less, just eating smaller quantities, not on purpose, and not like it. We just find ourselves eating less, and
yeah. And are you still doing your Get Set Up training and that sort of thing?
Yes. That's all going much like I've described over the past few weeks. And I'm just putting together all the classes now. I have to submit it tonight for February. Okay.
Okay.
And interestingly enough, yesterday I counted the classes that I put together for February, and it was 13 classes. And I only do 12 classes. Okay. And I thought, oh, well, do I have to do away with one? And then Sue came up with the brilliant idea. Why didn't you just roll it? Okay. To do 13 classes, but, still, it'll still be 12 a week, but then put the next one on the next week and roll it that way. So that's what I've now scheduled to do. New content, just becoming, I think, what's the right word? I think because of the experience, you're becoming cleverer at how to research, how to still do the best class that I'm capable of doing in a much quicker time with the research. Okay. Finding those sites that it's interesting because some sites are not available to, I think, Australians. It comes up and says, this site is not available to you. Okay, full stop.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I haven't bothered to investigate because they're few and far between. So I get hold of many others. So yeah, it's going all right. It's going all right. Are you going into work?
Yeah. Yeah, I go into work, but I've just probably been a little bit more vigilant in terms of just wearing masks and sanitizing my hands, and when I'm down in the showroom, when I come home at night, I just wash my clothes, stuff like that.
So, interesting.
Yeah, I don't particularly want it, but what you want and what happens aren't always the same. So
yeah. And do you find that going to work and coming home and doing these things and having, particularly in the eastern side of the continent where it is so rampant, Do you sort of feel down in the dumps, thinking, what's this all about, Alfie?
I guess my mindset has been, I want to be healthy, and I don't think about COVID as such. It's just, what do I need to do to be healthy? And it's, barefoot on the grass and hands in the soil and fresh air and plenty of water, water out of the copper jug, and
Yeah.
just eat, enough good quality food, sort of thing. And I've been focusing a lot on the spiritual side as well. So I've been thinking a lot about that, and yeah, just reflecting on even on a couple of our conversations. The one that we had there, I know, a few weeks ago now, about that internal dialogue and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And just sort of bringing some of that stuff a bit more front of mind.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, likewise.
Mm. I Well, like today, I went and saw my mother in the morning, and then all afternoon I've sort of just been working in the workshop and that, So I find that, working with my hands is good. It just sort of keeps the head empty, So just doing that sort of stuff. So
I think that's
but I'm not sort of. I don't believe I'm sort of gripped by any fear or anything associated with it. It's just
sure.
a reminder to, live healthy, basically.
But do you find yourself, on purpose preoccupying yourself just to get on with the day?
Don't know about preoccupying myself. I think I'm more conscious about not going out to like a shopping centre unless I have to.
Yeah.
So there's none of that sort of like, I think I might go out and have a cup of coffee or something. I just don't do that at the moment,
Yeah.
And hopefully when this wave passes, in the next, 3-4 weeks or whatever.
Yes.
We'll see what happens, So,
Yeah. Interestingly, yesterday, changing the subject now.
Yeah.
I was looking for something that I last had interaction with was in South Africa. Okay, it was the cryptocurrencies, the various currencies back about 4 years ago, and I thought, I must try and link up again and find my passwords and things that I had, because I couldn't, because I've had 2 computers since then. Okay, and anyway, the long and short of it was, I went looking for this, and I don't know why I went looking for it. I just did, and then I came across an Excel spreadsheet of mine that I kept going for decades. Okay, about life cycles. Okay, the 9-year life cycle. Okay, so yeah, year 1 and through to year 9, and it was only about 10 years out of date. So I quickly updated it. It's quick and easy, and then just I started looking. I thought, I was so into numerology and astrology, not the doing of numerology, yes, but also having my charts read and my stars read, and looked at that, and I looked back on the previous years and remembered what I did remember previously, and that was, if I just take one sentence, let's say for each year, something that was really dominant for that year, like let's say a divorce, or for example, or my mother died, or something like that. And they were all in the relevant sort of a year, you know what I mean? You know, that was, you know, that particular year. So anyway, I've got it up to date, and turns out that 2022 is my 9th year, okay, in the cycle. So, you know, there's usually an overlap, or otherwise, if there isn't, you know, something really new starts in the new year. So it's not necessarily, well, you would know that, it's not necessarily to do with career or work or anything like that. It often is, okay, but it's not necessarily. It's just something really dramatic. You're leaving behind 9 years of stuff, and now, you know, you're starting some new stuff. That's probably the best word to use, okay. And I thought that was interesting. And have you ever looked at those cycles for your own life and yourself?
I haven't written them down like you have, no. But I mean, there's times when I just reflect,
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
And reflect in the sense like of, you know, how I felt then versus how I feel now about the same thing, and, you know, just some of those sorts of things. So,
yeah. You know, I can send you the 9-year sort of cycle. You can create a sheet if you want to, because obviously it's like a circle. Okay, every 9 years is a circle. You know, it comes again, and then you know, the age to 81 is 9 nines. You know, is another circle of these life cycles and so on. But you know, if you're interested what year 1 is, 2 and 3 and 4 and so on, you know, I can just put that into an email to you, or
yeah, sure. So help me understand a bit better. Is there like some significance of the different years, or?
Yeah, they are. Okay. What I'll do is I'll do something quite simple. What is your date of birth?
28th of June.
28/6, yeah. And the year?
1959.
1969. Okay.
No, 59.
59. Okay. Yeah, that sounds better. Yeah. And your full names as on your passport?
Donald Craig.
Hang on. Donald, D-A-N-A-L-D, Donald Craig, C-R-A-I-G, Jones.
Yep.
Okay. Donald Craig Jones. Okay. What I'll do is I'll put that out, and I'll do 3 simple numbers. Okay, from that, and just to start you into the. You can have a look at it and say, well, now let me, you know, research some for myself, some sort of things, because finally you know, you'll find lots and lots of information on the internet. But finally, it comes down to being very intuitive. Okay, so let's say, for argument, year 6 will have the word maybe stressful. Okay, that's a 1-word year. Now that could be, you know, because it's in the middle of the sort of 9-year cycle. It would really be highly successful in what you're doing, but that success being stress or something. So you've got to intuitively look to and look at yourself and say, okay, what are the few other words besides stress that are perhaps linked to year 6? And because year 6 is a very powerful achievement year, spiritually or otherwise. Okay. In all domains. It just depends where you are from your consciousness, and so you use your intuition to look at that, and yeah, it becomes like the first 3 years are like things are starting. Okay, although they could even start on your 9th year, perhaps in your thought or being introduced to something. And then really year 1 is getting, but then year 2 and 3 are also part of that growing period, if you like. And then you get 4, 5, 6, 7, which is the mid 9-year cycle. That is where everything happens. Okay, the good, the bad, the ugly, all good. And then 8 is in a sense like peters it out a bit, but it could also be your really enjoying all the benefits of whatever it happens to be, and then you start leaving it behind in your 9th year, and start getting less interested in what the last 9 years has been about. Okay.
Yeah.
But I'll do something quickly for you when we've finished, perhaps later tonight, and I'll email best or put it on Skype, or what shall I do? I'll do it on an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, do it on email. Yeah, email
okay.
will be good.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's interesting that suddenly pitched, and you know me, I asked that famous question. You know, why did this come across last night? I haven't thought about it. I wasn't searching for it, but there it stuck out like a sore thumb when I was looking for something else. Okay, and so I thought, I used to have a lot of interest in this, so let me just go back and see. And
so the 9-year cycle obviously starts from the date of birth, does it?
Yeah, it starts from, so in your case, you've got 1959 to 1960 is year 1. Okay, so if you're going to put it on a sheet, then you would actually put 1960 next to that year 1. Okay, because that's when your year 1 ended. Okay.
Yeah.
And so when you get to your 9th year, let's say this is my 9th year now. Okay, so when I am 72, and 7 and 2 is 9. Okay, so this is like really a finalizing of something in this year. The year itself, of course, 2022 is a year 6. Okay, and that's a very spiritual year. Okay, but it also, people who are not spiritual, it has other effects for them, if you like. Okay, so but anyway, just all you got to do is Google life cycles, and you will get masses of. There's a woman in New Zealand who's really good. I was yesterday evening when I thought I would just Google, see what else I could find, and I came across her. And then I was speaking today from Michelle in the United States, and she actually bought this person's book, and she's pretty good. I just can't think of her name offhand. It was Michelle something, Michelle somebody. But anyway, but you'll come across your own. What is it you're attracted to when you search? And so I'm going to dabble a little bit more back in that, to see, just to give the universe the opportunity to say, well, you wanted to show me this, you wanted me to bring it back, now tell me why, and, so for me to find out why, I need to sort of fiddle a little bit more, and see, particularly that I'm going into a whole new 9-year cycle.
Well, I'll be the same, I guess.
Yeah, you'd be very close to it. Yeah, because
this is my 9th year as well.
I was just going to say, because I'm 49, I'm in 1949, you're 1959, you must also be going into your 9th.
Yeah, because that 9th year.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. Okay. Yeah. And if you take the reason I asked you for your date of birth, you add all that up and get your life path. Or no, your is it your soul now? My terminology. I don't know if it's your life path or your soul number, but it's been out of my mind for so long. But one of the two, if it's your life path number, and you add up your birth. Let me just have a look. I've got my sheet somewhere down here. Let me just, not sure. Oh, no, for your soul vibration number, you would take Donald Craig Jones, and then allocate numbers. Okay, you've got to have the numbers, but I can send you those too. The date of birth is your life path number. Okay, so if you just have you added those together quickly? Let's have a look. 10, 60. Hang on, you've got to do 10, 60, and then 20, 34. Looks like your life path number is an 8 as well. That's a very mental calculation. Adding, you add the 28, you add the 8 and the 2 becomes 10. Okay, then there's 6. You add 6 to the 10, and then you add separately the 1959, which is 20, 25, 34. Then you add 34 to the 16. What does that come to? That's 50. Eh? Okay. 34. My mental arithmetic is not very good. Let me just do both here. 2 and 8 is 10. Plus 6 plus 20, 19, 24, 24, 33, 43, 49, 30. 1 and 3 is 4. Yeah, it looks like your life number is a 4, so I don't know anything about 4. I just know that it's a particularly spiritual number, that 4, if it is 4. Okay, so but let me do it properly, and then I'll send it to you. You know, I'll let Excel add them up for me. It's easier.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, so you from your name you get your soul, okay, your soul number, and let me just so if you can do that, let me just see if I can copy this and put it onto Zoom chat. I will send it elsewhere to you as well. Let's see. Yeah, okay, it's come up on chat. Okay, you'd want each letter of the alphabet's got a number. Okay, and you can then do your physical, and then once you've got a number, then of course you could Google interpretations. Okay, and see what that means, but don't forget to focus spiritually on it as opposed to physically.
So on the alphabet there, so do you like the add them up, do you?
Yeah, you put your, what I did, I put each letter of my Michael Patrick Plumstead on a separate cell in Excel. Okay, and then I just put the relevant number. You know, whether it's an A, a J, or an S, it gets a number 1.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and then I just use Excel to add them up, and then you reduce it to one figure. Okay, if it turns out to be, you know, whatever it is, let's say 55, you know, you then add 5 plus 5 is 10, but that's still 2 numbers. You got to, then it's 1 plus 0. So the number would be 1. Okay.
Yep. Yep. Okay.
Keep breaking it down. Every time it stays 2, you add those 2 together to bring it to 1. So,
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. As I say, I don't know why.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is, because obviously every single thing, every bit of energy in anything, will be brought down to numbers.
Yeah.
And so I guess there's something significant that I need to know, and maybe it's got something to do with what's coming up for the next 9 years. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's sort of funny, isn't it? Because I mean, as I've been studying, you know, this crypto
Yeah.
thing, and sort of somewhat ironically, the metaverse, it kind of, in a bizarre sort of way, is starting to make sense, which is a bit of a worry.
Okay.
I suppose the analogy that sort of comes to mind is that, you know, like when television started,
Hmm.
you know, it changed people's behavior and how they saw the world.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I really think that with the metaverse and the blockchain and that sort of technology and cryptocurrency as part of that, I sense it once again will be a big change.
Hmm. Hmm.
So sort of ponder this scenario for a second. So say you decided to, let me take a step back. So if you view your life as an expression, and it is, so you express yourself through this life energy, ponder the scenario where you decide to, as a further expression of your life, do that in the metaverse. And forget about Facebook, because it's much more than Facebook. Facebook's trying to hijack it, but it is. Yeah. So if the next form of expression of your life was in the form of an app, which was about your life, and in effect, the way the app works is you as the creator create this ecosystem, if you like, if I want to use that word. So this environment,
right,
in the metaverse, about your life and about your values and things that are important to you and so on. And one sort of context to view that is as a game,
right,
you know, the game of life,
yeah,
or the game of Michael.
yeah.
And then people who choose to participate in that game, and explore that ecosystem, with the advent of cryptocurrency, because most of these games in that space have a context where you participate in it, and as you work your way through the game, you earn, so you get tokens or coins or whatever for participation through the various levels of that game. So, you know, people can get rewards as they navigate that app, and you as the creator of that app get rewards through the people who participate in that app.
Okay.
So it creates an environment there where abundance is possible, and abundance is possible in this realm as it is in that realm as well. But that's not the focus. The focus is in that app and the people who choose to participate in that app. It's about exploring expression. And the expression is, in this scenario, is your life. So if you imagine, use your imagination about, well, what would that look like in that virtual reality? You know, what would you look like in that virtual reality? And interestingly, I won't even use the word. Interestingly, one of the overriding questions as you design and develop that ecosystem, if you want to use that term, is answering the question, who am I?
Okay.
And what is this life about? Now that's a conscious exploration
Mm.
of designing and talking about an expression of your life in another dimension.
Right, right.
Mm.
That's so interesting. Eh? I enjoyed listening to you there. Yeah. So this interests you, and you're busy doing some thinking about it. It's probably why I was searching for the cryptocurrency password. Probably our last conversation probably stimulated that.
Well, the thing that I found fascinating from my own perspective is the first question which popped up for me is like, I don't understand this whole crypto space. I need to understand better.
Yeah.
So I took the decision to do a bit of research, and then I thought, no, I need to do something a bit more structured. So I bought a Udemy course, and it wasn't just any Udemy course. It was one that was all about the why. So why does this exist? Why does it operate like it operates?
That's right. You mentioned it to me. Yeah, yeah.
So and I'm probably about 50% of the way through that course. And in terms of the content, the value of the content starting to diminish pretty rapidly now, because it's sort of less about factual historical analysis of it, and it's more about now of, well, what's possible with it. And that's where I think my imagination has started to run a little wild with it, because like you think about it too, with some of the other sort of context around it and the age in which we live, like with artificial intelligence, say you decided to create an avatar for yourself. So this is what you look like in this dimension. You decide to create an avatar about, well, what will you look like in that dimension? Because what you look like in this dimension has probably been more driven by what you've collected, the food that you've eaten, the ideas that you've gathered, the information that you've gathered, the impressions, the beliefs, the values, and things like that. In that dimension, in many respects, it's an empty space which enables you to bring forth the expression of who you are without limitation.
Because you're the creator.
So just simple things like, so what do you think you would look like? And that takes you into that realm of these things they call NFTs, so they're non-fungible tokens. At the moment, there's lots of non-fungible tokens in the blockchain, but they tend to be avatars of people as to how they want to portray themselves in there. So there's lots of like monkeys and apes and stuff like that. And some of the celebrities in this domain are putting themselves in that domain and designing avatars and so on. But the design of the avatars is not a hard thing to do, because there's plenty of AI applications out there on the web now. So you can just punch in the parameters that you want it to be, and hey presto, it spits it out. And if you're happy with it, there you go.
Right. So. Yeah.
And it doesn't have to take a physical form either. Your form, it could be anything that you wanted it to be. It could be a tree, or it could be a geometric shape, or it could be anything that you want it to be. But you're the creator, so so say for example, in this app, you create some sort of building or real estate.
Yeah.
Michael's Palace or whatever it's going to be.
Yeah.
And so how does someone get in the front door of Michael's palace? Well, you know, I need to see their energy. So how do you see their energy? Well, maybe they need to sing and dance for me. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Okay, no, I'm with you.
So,
and do you see that differently to, let's say, one of these internet games, virtual reality?
They're basically the same in the sense that these games live on a platform. So there's one particular popular platform called Sandbox. So in that sandbox, there's real estate that you can develop and buy, and there's games that you can play in there, and the success or otherwise of these platforms depends on how distributed they are and how they perform based on the sort of participation. So, for example, the largest level of participation that I've been able to find anyway at this stage is around 3.5 million people per day playing a particular game. And they can interact with each other or choose not to, and all of those sort of things.
Sure.
But the interesting thing is, you as the creator, you're the one that designs that ecosystem.
Okay, but that's in the same as a game, okay, on a platform.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, and the interesting thing though is in terms of, like we've had lots of conversations over the years about different things like Phoenix Rising and so on, about how do we get these messages out to people and so on. It's going to be how effective the design of that ecosystem is as to how many participants there are in it. So
like historically with Phoenix Rising, we were saying, well, we get followers, okay? And
we get followers who are interested in, spiritual discussion.
Yeah, okay. And so it's still, in a sense, like two-dimensional, okay? There's us giving information, them receiving information, okay?
Maybe a little broader than that, because as the creator of the ecosystem, you're not a participant of the game other than providing this environment to enable people to do things. And they can create things within that environment. And the things that they create, you may foster their creation because it's consistent with your values and your goals and your objectives and so on. Although if someone comes into there and wants to create, I don't know, a virus, for example, which is inconsistent with your values and so on, well, then the ecosystem will shut that down.
Yeah. Okay. So, sorry, when I was saying two-dimensional, I was talking about like us on YouTube or us on our website, okay? Whereas when you're talking about the blockchain, it's everywhere. It's not on a platform. It's not giving you information. You've actually got to live, or you've got to play the game. And like we have to in this life, we have to play the game in this three-dimensional life that you and I are talking in.
And that sort of permeates the whole of the blockchain, because to create a cryptocurrency, you have to mine it. So there's this mining process. So if you take Bitcoin, for example, there's only 21 million of them. And you actually there's this process you have to go through to mine the coins.
And how do you, what is mine? I've never understood that. What is mine?
Basically it's solving a problem.
Okay. And if you you mean solving a problem as in where to find the money, or solving a just insignificant
It's usually
problem?
like a security question, like, how do you enhance the security of that block in the blockchain? It's encryption. It might, depending on the platform, if it's on the Ethereum platform, it also enables you to put in things like smart contracts and things like that in there, So
yeah.
And the interesting thing about it is that it's completely transparent in the sense that the way the blockchain works is that once something is created, it can never go away. So say, for example, you buy a Honda Civic. Well, there's a record of that in the blockchain. But you might decide, or, a vandal comes along and sets fire to your Honda Civic and it's destroyed. Well, that'll happen over here. But this will always stay there. So there's no means within the blockchain to destroy something that's been created. You can't go back and change it. You can create more information about it, but you can't go back and make that Michael owned a Honda Civic disappear, ever.
Yeah.
So the initial design characteristics of it were the people who sort of designed that, and the mining aspect, for example, was really dealing with some of these issues that we are confronted with in the society. Governments just printing money whenever they feel like it. Whereas with Bitcoin in particular, there's only 21 million of them, and you can't create any more than that, and you can't destroy them. And there's not 21 million of them in circulation at the moment, because there's this process where you have to mine them. And at the moment, the way the mining unfolds, it can only grow by about 2% a year. So they know that the mining process for Bitcoin will continue until 2140, the year 2140.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay. So,
and because it's a finite number of them, the demand for them will drive the value.
Yeah.
Whereas in this dimension in which you and I live, when governments just print money, then basically what they're doing is they're saddling us up with debt that we have to pay off in many cases for the rest of our lives. Governments don't like cryptocurrency because it challenges their control and power. But interestingly, there's a trickle of different countries around the world which are adopting cryptocurrency as their coin of the realm.
Oh, that's whole countries.
And you think about it from a global perspective, with the global powers, like the US dollar is in effect a de facto global currency, Whereas that could be changed to Bitcoin or some other coin, which is a true global currency. But the design characteristics around that currency will be whatever it is on the blockchain. And once it's created, you can't change it.
So in effect, yeah, sorry.
So in effect, what the blockchain has done in respect to currency, in particular, it's taken humans out of the equation.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you've got me to understand that. But coming back to the Phoenix Rising, now, how would you see us creating an environment that would invite participants to participate in what Phoenix Rising stands for and wants to do?
Well, there's nothing new under the sun in one sense. It could literally be the question which drives the design of the game is what does it mean to be fully awake? Or whatever, like words that Moya might use or whatever, to be a realized person, a fully spiritual, unified person. And the game, could be the labyrinth which people navigate, that as they go through these different things as we do in this dimension, it increases our spiritual awareness, for example.
In this dimension. So what the game they play and creating things and questions and answers will make them aware in the third dimension. Yeah, okay.
And it would be fascinating, sort of based, like particularly with your knowledge of Logos, is to the ecosystem that Moya's painted, you know, or the portrait that Moya's painted, as to what these dimensions look like and how they operate and what's possible within them.
Right. Yeah, yeah. That is so interesting. Okay, it really is. I'm so pleased that you've got a little bug there. Okay. That's biting at you. Oh, keep it up, keep it up.
Because I can really see a lot of the design elements that have, like the thought behind a lot of the design, it just goes straight to the heart of so many issues that we've discussed, you know, consumerism and you know, the lies associated with marketing and you know, greed and all of those things, you know. Now there's as with anything that humans design, you know, there's always unintended consequences and there's unforeseen things and all sorts of stuff like that. But the intention which has gone into this, from what I can ascertain, has been one to create a virtual environment, you know, which acts with integrity.
But that means every single human being can create their own environment.
Potentially, yeah, and I suppose we do. And the other thing too is, like when I was listening to my own words talk about, you know, create an environment designed with integrity, but we can live our lives with integrity but still be under a satanic attack.
Yeah, sure.
You know, so stretches the mind a bit, doesn't it?
It's very exciting, very exciting.
And the age in which we live too, like, and I was reflecting on it in some depth this afternoon too, and the age in which we live is the design of it, particularly if you say, okay, I'm going to create a Michael Plumstead app. Now, the interesting thing around the design of that then is it already exists because you exist. How that app comes into expression is what flows through you. So the divine guidance, if you like, or the egoic guidance, whichever sort of, you know, that arm wrestle, which we have going on inside of our consciousness all the time. You know, it's fascinating.
But what about doing it the other way around? Okay, let's not use Michael Plumstead. Let's use Phoenix Rising. Okay, it doesn't really have a life at the moment. Okay, and we're looking for a life for Phoenix Rising. That's why we've got on with our lives, and we have, for one of the reasons that we have this this conversation on a regular basis. But what happens if you create an app in order to find out what the reality is of Phoenix Rising in this dimension? So you start playing in that dimension in order to come to some sort of reality in this dimension. Is that possible? Is that...
Well, I think it's definitely possible, but I guess that the thing that was sort of guiding my sort of thinking and analysis a bit was, you know, when I used the analogy of, like, you know, when radio came along, it changed our view of the world, and when television came along, it changed our view of the world, and when the internet came along, it changed our view of the world, and when the metaverse comes along, I think it will also change our view of the world. but with each of those changes, it tends to be predominantly looking forward rather than looking back. Now, I'm not saying that that's right or wrong.
Yeah, but that's fine. Looking forward, looking forward to creating something in the three-dimensional, finding solutions for things in the three-dimensional. For something
or alternatively, as you rightly pointed out, maybe it's all cyclical. So we might think that we're going in a certain direction, but perhaps it folds back on itself.
Yeah, maybe the snake is eating his tail. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
But as I said, the interesting thing about the design characteristics in the metaverse, it's here now. It's done within an environment of abundance.
Yeah.
It's about creating this sort of environment, this atmosphere, this climate, to enable others to come and participate in. Now, I think that's pretty darn exciting.
Yeah, it's like total nothingness, okay? Total blackness that has all the potential of everythingness.
Well, that's a really interesting point, because as I've continued with my tandem study, the spiritual study, that and the question that kept on bobbing up for me was, like Christ often said, and the Buddha has said it in different ways and so on, about being in this world but not of it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've sort of been thinking about that. Well, what does that mean for me? And that's the question. I keep on saying, what does that mean for me? And to give you a really simple but quite an intimate insight to how that thinking has manifested itself, is I haven't cut my hair in 6 months.
I noticed that, yeah.
Yeah. and almost on a daily basis, there's this part of the dialogue says, go and get yourself tidied up. And there's another part of the dialogue says, what you look like doesn't matter.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a really good analogy using yourself, I think.
But then, as you explore that debate, it could be, how you show up in this world is important, not only for you. Well, it's important for yourself, but if you're showing up in this world for others, show up in a way that, gives them confidence and helps them understand what you're saying and all that sort of stuff. And so then that raises some really interesting questions about, well, should I or should I not go and cut my hair?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Is the act of going and getting your hair cut just one of conforming to a falsehood? Or and around and round and round you go.
Well, but there's also other aspects of I don't cut my hair until it irritates me. Okay. then I go and have it. And usually I just say to them, short back and sides, just cut. Okay. And then, probably I've never measured the time, but okay, but probably, it goes 6 months growing. Okay. And I just place it back and get it out of my, I hate it on my forehead. It irritates me when it sits on my forehead. Okay. So where I don't mind it going over my ears, and that doesn't, in winter, that's actually convenient. But as soon as I think, oh my goodness me, I don't like my own hair. Okay. Then I go and get it cut. Okay. So,
but part of that subtle trap is, oh, well, if on the one hand you're saying, if I go and get, some grooming and get it cut and looks nice and all the rest of it. Am I conforming? The other side of that very same coin is if I don't go and get it cut and I don't care what I look like, is that exactly the same thing?
Yeah, you're doing
by different definition.
Yes, absolutely the same thing. It is absolutely the same thing. It's just the other end of the stick, at the end of the flip
Of
side
the same
of the coin.
stick.
Yes,
Yeah.
the same stick, the same stick. Yeah.
And then you can just say to yourself, well, it doesn't really matter what you do because it's not that important. There's other more important things.
There are more important things, okay? So you don't do something because you want to be spiritual, okay?
No,
because you missed the whole message if you do that. And so we all, a lot of people do. They go and sit and meditate and close their eyes in order to become more spiritual, okay?
And that's exactly the point that you just made 5 minutes ago was, the true awakened person operates from a position of nothing.
Yeah.
And allows the divine expression to flow through them.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Long hair or short hair, it doesn't matter.
That's it. And that's not me. That's Moya talking, okay? He's described what it's like being in absolute nothingness, okay? And it's blackness, okay?
So in that sense, it's an assumption on my part, but it would seem to me that one of the designers of the blockchain used that very same principle with the creation of the blockchain, created it out of nothing.
Yeah. That's an interesting thought. Yeah.
Fascinating, hey?
It is fascinating. And something else that I suddenly realized is that Zoom doesn't cut you off after 40 minutes. The private thing, it used to, remember, you could only go, I only thought of it now, okay? I suddenly looked at the time, I said, oh, we've been going for over an hour. But hey, it used to be 40 minutes. So obviously they dropped that as well. There's been a lot of change, I know, in Zoom, but that's obviously one of them. Or was it only for more than 2 people? Maybe it was only for more than 2 people.
More than 2 people, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what it was, yeah. Anyway.
Well, it's been quite stable tonight though, hasn't it?
Very stable. And it's been very stable with the Get Set Up lessons too. I know they've got a paid version, okay, we use. But it's very stable. I have very, very seldom, possibly, once in a part of a lesson, maybe every 2 months, I have trouble. But I think that's got to do with the internet in WA at that moment. Okay, I don't think it's got to do anything with Zoom. But yeah. So yeah. Let me see how it goes for taking the recording and uploading it and so on. And and then maybe this is the number will stay the same. Did you have to put in a code?
No, it didn't. Just came straight through.
Oh, good. Okay. That's good. And just use the same code every week, every time we chat. Okay. And we'll just see how it goes. But let me first confirm that it's all okay as far as uploading the video and so on. So,
Okay, we'll do.
All right. Well,
very good.
Fascinating. Shall I call this version Metaverse? I think so.
Michaelverse.
Metaverse. Yeah. And so you've got to get on now and get to know and start programming. Now, we've got to create the Phoenix Rising Metaverse. Okay.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And use our conversations to get more and more input and information, and use me as a sounding board and what you're thinking.
The critical aspect will be the design, because in terms of the creating of the app and that sort of stuff, there's so much artificial intelligence out there now that it just does it automatically for you.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
But we got to get that that basis of absolute nothingness to start with.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Mm.
Anyway, Don, this has been profound. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it.
Very good.
Okay.
Okay. Well, you take care.
You too. All right.
Okay.
Cheers. Man. Bye.
Okay. Bye now.